Hey everybody, my name is Tuesday, and today I'm going to be talking about some behind the scenes or behind the tracks for Yearn. Okay, so let's get started. This is my first time doing these videos and behind the track, and even like these like video logs. I plan to do more or try to do more in the future, some more behind the scenes stuff, but let's see how it goes. I'm really just trying it out for the first time. This thing's not even like leveled. Leveled? Okay, don't fall. Okay. Homemade iced coffee, can't go wrong, especially because coffee's so expensive now these days. Okay, so where do I start? So behind the tracks, okay, B. The first track on the EP is B. And I made that song trying to remake one of my favorite Daft Punk songs called Digital Love. And I think the intro is still pretty intact, like it sounds pretty similar to Digital Love today, but the more I worked on it, the more it sort of strayed and deviated from Digital Love. I was also really inspired by that song lyrically because, the song, at least in my interpretation, is about an unrequited love and dream versus reality. And then coming to terms of waking up from that dream and then wanting to make that dream a reality. So I was inspired by that, and I really like the sentiment of that song, but I feel like it's a little bit more on the sweeter side. But I feel like B is more grounded in the present day reality, and then having this dream that you do want to chase rather than an unrequited love, or rather than a dream that you're waking up from. Like, this is the reality, and that's like a dream that you are wanting to make a reality. So there's that. I really think the main hook of the song that goes, why do I live on like this? Dry eyes, I know this is selfish. Like, that section like really showcases like the sentiment of like, well, why am I living my life like this when I want to be living my life like that? So I think that's something that I really feel like really comes through with the lyrics and the tone of the song. I think there's like two more things I guess I can say about the song. I really struggled actually writing this track, and it took me a while to finish. And I started writing it, and I actually took a break because I was really struggling with it. And I ended up writing a short story, and I'm not a writer by any means in terms of like storytelling and all that stuff, but I wrote a short story with characters and a plot and a narrative just to give me some like a background story to write this song. And my initial thought was like, oh, like this could be a storyboard or a script for like a music video like down the line. Obviously I don't have like music video money, but I was like, okay, I have this sort of short story to lean on. And I was able to like actually finish that song very easily after that because I had a clearer understanding of how I wanted the song to finish narratively. Okay, I think one last thing is that if you've seen some of the photos or the videos associated to B, then you might have noticed that there's a unique symbol that's always present. And there's a lot of different use cases of that symbol, but it was used very intentionally it was used very intentionally within the song. So that's what I'll say about that. Like, there's a purpose there, and especially for the song for B. So there's that. Okay, what's next? Reach. Okay, Reach. Uh, I started writing Reach, and my partner hates the story, but it happened, and it's the truth, so I'm gonna say it. But I started writing Reach at a time where, so the story of how I started writing Reach was me and my partner, we were gonna go out somewhere, and I was waiting for them to get ready and to get finished to get ready and go. So while I was waiting, I go into the piano and I play the piano, and I come across these chords and this chord progression that I really liked, and it really stuck. And I was like, oh wait, like this could be a hit. Like this has potential. And I was just so excited that like I didn't want the idea to escape me. I didn't want to forget. So what I did was I opened my computer, I opened up my DAW, and I started putting the chords and the notes in my computer. And I was like, this has potential. I have to have it down somewhere before I forget it or before it doesn't exist. And I took so long that my partner ended up getting frustrated with me because they were finished getting ready and then they were waiting for me to finish so we could then go and go out. So that's how it started. I really had these chords that I'm like, oh, there's so much potential here, and I have to put it down somewhere before I forget or before it escapes me. And I took a hit there in terms of my partner getting upset with me. But that's how it started. I was really inspired for the sound of the song by early 2010s like EDM, which a lot of people say is like the golden age of EDM. And I was really inspired, and I listened to a lot of the music from that time, but I was really inspired by songs like Clarity by Zed, and songs by Language by Porter Robinson, and I think it's Move Into Light by Juventa. Like I was really inspired by those songs to make something that was like super massive, super big. And because it's an instrumental, I wanted it to feel like I've made my dreams come true. The intention of that was I wanted to feel like I've made it, especially because it's mostly instrumental. There's not a lot of lyrics, and I wanted the feeling to come across. And I think that's an important feeling to have right after listening to Be, where you have the feeling of like, why am I living my life like this? Like, I want to chase this other thing. And then have Reach, which is like the culmination of like, oh, like this is the future version of yourself that you wanted, and you've achieved it, and you're like dreaming it, and you've done it, sort of thing. So I wanted that feeling to come across for Reach. So that's about Reach. What's next? Messenger. Okay, so the idea of Messenger came from when I got really interested in this visual aesthetic called Fruitiger Arrow, and it really reminded me of MSN Messenger back when I was like a kid using MSN Messenger to talk to my friends. So I had this idea of like, oh, like what if I try to make a song only using the MSN Messenger sounds, or mostly using the MSN Messenger sounds, and like make it modern and dancey and all that stuff. That is to say, it kind of didn't really work out. That first version of the song was like so incomplete, like I wouldn't even call it like a demo or anything like that. So I really struggled getting that idea across. But because I struggled with trying to get the MSN Messenger sounds into the song and like make it a song out of it, like I was struggling producing the song, because I really wanted the MSN sounds to work. I really wanted it to work. Um, but instead of like having the sounds, I thought about like, okay, maybe I'll just incorporate um, like chat-based, MSN-based lingo or words in there to then have this MSN Messenger like sprinkled in there, like, you know, oh, poke or nudge or DM or whatever, like all that kind of like lingo. And so like that was the way that I tied into like MSN Messenger rather than the ear candy and what it sounds like. So there's that. This was also the last song that I wrote on the EP. So writing the lyrics was actually pretty, I want to say pretty quick, but it was definitely a lot easier for me to write because I had all the other songs in place and I knew where I wanted this song to live within the order of the songs. So I had a clear idea of like how I wanted to write it and what I wanted it to say and the message to be. And you know, I really wanted to have this song focused on you know, self-doubt and you getting messages or notifications from like the voice inside in your head that like slowly appear time to time that, you know, might come across as like a friendly nudge or a friendly like thought or a thought that's like protecting you in a way, but it might actually be a harmful message. So that's where Messenger comes from and what it's about. Yeah, I do have like another version of Messenger that like I didn't have any lyrics and it was mainly just the sample chopped and like just different drums. And I don't know, maybe I'll release that someday or like play it in like a live show, but that was me trying to experiment with the vocal chops and like trying to like add different drums and different like drops and like not really knowing what the right feeling was. But I'm really happy with the version that we have, or a version that I have, because I took a lot of inspiration from Here Goes Nothing by Never Shout Never. So I wanted it to be like this like internet sounding song, because I also associate MSN and like Never Shout Never together for some reason. So that's where that comes from. All right. Did I hear somebody? No, it's quiet in here. I don't know why I'm making stuff up. Let me just have a sip. This is really good, by the way. Like anybody like that coffee lovers, like seriously, just like if you have a Keurig or if you just like brew your coffee, just brew it black, put it in like a jar or like a big like container, just put it in the fridge. You get like some flavoring syrups, get some milk. Honestly, man, it'll save you like a lot of money, which I need to actively do to pursue this thing. Plus it's good, and I have like, I can get, this is like a big, like, I don't know, I would say this is like a large if you go to like a coffee shop, and like it's a lot cheaper than like spending $7-9 at Starbucks. Anyway, I am a coffee lover. I'm also a tea person, but specifically bubble tea. I will not really drink iced tea or hot tea unless it's for like my throat. Yeah, anyways. Okay, on to the next song, which is Whisper of the Soul. So Whisper of the Soul, got the title, and I got the title from watching Whisper of the Heart, which is a movie by Studio Ghibli. And it was at a time where I was just randomly watching a bunch of Studio Ghibli movies because I sort of wanted to like watch all of them, which I haven't yet, but I've watched a good chunk. And I started watching that, or I watched that in the middle of this whole writing process for Yearn. And it came at a good time because that movie is about, again, like just having dreams, chasing them, working at it every day, and having to make, big sacrifices to make your dreams a reality, right? So I really loved that movie, and I was really inspired by the emotional story of that film. But then the practical person in me was like, but that doesn't happen every day, right? That doesn't happen to normal people. Like, this is a movie, and like, it doesn't always happen that way, right? So there was a level of optimism that the movie presented that I came back with like skepticism in a way, which I feel like is like maybe the total opposite of what they wanted the film for audiences to come away with. But I wanted to take that angle because I thought it was interesting. So there was that aspect, and so after watching that movie, I would talk to my partner, and there was this phrase that they coined, which was abandoning passion. And that, I felt like, summarized this feeling that people are abandoning their passion, or they're not even trying, and they're giving up their potential because they were letting like their dreams like fade away because they felt like their dreams weren't practical, or like their dreams were enough, or they weren't enough to do the thing that is needed to chase their dreams. Basically, like abandoning your passion because you felt like your passion and your potential, because your dream isn't practical enough and it's not sustainable enough. And there's this idea that like, well, you can try and then you fail, or like you don't even try because you're scared, or you don't even try because it's impractical. And I think the idea that you have this like thing that's deep inside your soul, deep inside your heart, that's like whispering to like come out, and like you're not letting it because it's not practical, and like the world says no, and it's not sustainable, and maybe you have a family to feed and you can't risk it, or maybe you don't have money, or you don't have a job, or like whatever, but that's what like whisper of the soul, the intent is to feel, or that's where the idea comes from. And like the beginning of the song is pretty like emotional and like orchestral. It's supposed to feel sad, and then the second half, where the drop, like that's supposed to feel frustrating, and at the very end it's supposed to feel lonely and isolating, which I think are all emotions that sort of you feel when like you're thinking about giving up your dream. The thing is too, like giving up your dream like doesn't also happen in a very grand way. It's not like, okay, everybody, I'm giving up, it's done, whatever. Like the idea of abandoning a passion is very slow, and it happens by like these very small decisions that you slowly move away from your passion from. And it's like, oh, maybe I don't want to write music today, and then you keep repeatedly doing that until you ultimately forget about it. Like that's very sad to me, and something that I don't want to happen to me. But I think I've gone through stuff like that for sure, which is why this is one of the songs on the EP. So that's Whisper of the Soul. Okay. The last one, Flashback Feeling. The last song on the EP. This is my personal favorite, I'll be honest. I don't like choosing favorites for songs, but like, man, this one really hits different for me every time I listen to it. So the concept of Flashback Feeling early on was this idea of, having a flashback and having the song feel like a flashback. And I was listening to a lot of Botanica music in this like short period, like artists from Fritz, stuff like that. And so I wanted the song to feel like it was like having a flashback, but it turned out to be something more centered around retrospection, which I guess still fits into the theme of like flashbacks, but like it wasn't narrative driven in the way that like, oh, like looking back on my life, like this is what I was doing at that time. So I wanted it to sound like a flashback and focus on retrospection. That being said though, like this was actually one of the toughest songs, or no, this was the toughest song for me to write. I struggled a lot with this song because I didn't know what to write at the time or how to write it. And like I struggled so many times. Like this was actually one of the songs that like made me feel like I wanted to quit and like just stop. Like in general. And there was, things that I was watching on like the internet and, seeing other artists or other people just like try to give you advice on like how to do music and how to be better with content or your songwriting or your producing, and just seeing other artists like do better than you and make it, like it didn't help. Like at some point you could be like you're there for encouragement, but it actually made me feel worse about myself because I didn't feel adequate. And like, so me like going on to Instagram and TikTok and YouTube like was actually painful for me. And even like the music that I was listening to, like I was just like constantly comparing myself to the music, to the songwriting. And even though that these are artists that are at different points in their music career, like I just couldn't help but like comparing. And like that didn't help either. Like I didn't want to listen to music that would inspire me or give me any sort of indication of where to go and how to write it, because it would still make me feel like I don't know what I'm doing and like I'm not good enough, and just make me feel bad about myself. So yeah, like it was tough for me to write, and it took a long time. That being said though, one of the stories that I have about this song though is I was writing it and I wrote the bridge, and the bridge goes, is this goodbye? Will you be okay? A thought you never had before. Just give it one more try, 'cause you owe yourself. This is what you're yearning for. And man, when I wrote that, like, I kid you not, like, I got up, I like leaned my forehead against this wall over here, and like, I just started crying. And I felt like I started crying because when I read that back, like, I felt like that was exactly what I needed to hear or to see, to be like, just keep going, dude. Like, you want this, right? So just keep going almost. And yeah, like I just like sat there and cried and looked at the lyrics for I don't know how long, but I was just like, okay, I felt like this is exactly what I needed to hear. I'm crying to this lyric. It has to be in there. Like this is the bridge. Like it is this. Um, and that was the only version of the bridge I ever wrote, and it's in the song. And I feel like that is one of the biggest, or maybe the most takeaway that I want from this EP is that like that sentiment that like, hey, like you're doing something that you're chasing your dreams for. Like you might give up, you might feel like you're giving up, but like you owe it to yourself to like keep going and keep trying. And yeah, like that's what I really wanted to convey with Flashback Feeling. I think I had an interview like early in January where someone was talking about like the songs. They're like, oh, like, do you feel like you're giving a comforting like message to people? Like, do you think your songs are a comfort for other people? And I don't think I would categorize it as that. Like, I think the songs that I have and the message they're trying to say is more of a realization and more of like me just calling out the feelings. Like, I don't think I'm giving advice at all, nor do I think I am the kind of person to do that. So like I'm really trying to focus on the feelings that will resonate with people and calling them out and trying to showcase them in the way that really resonates with people. So that's with Flashback Feeling, that's with all of the songs really. That's about it too. So yeah, I'm probably just gonna end it there. I hope you guys keep listening to the songs. If you haven't, they're on streaming somewhere. But yeah, I'll also maybe do more of these videos soon. But that's it. That's me. It's Tuesday. That's Yearn. And I'll see you guys soon. Or maybe should I answer like a question that like people have been asking me? Maybe next time.